Okay, welcome to this video lesson, talking you through plate 35, the pelvis. So I don't know that I would necessarily recommend coloring this. You can. We're really coloring, if you do color, we're really looking at only the very middle of that, the pelvic girdle. The pelvis is actually composed of two bones. So the pelvis itself is kind of this entire structure. We've already studied the sacrum and we've already seen the coccyx. So the pelvis is composed of this bone here. So this is one continuous bone and one bone over here. These are both called the coxabone, C-O-X-A. So we have a right coxabone and a left coxabone. They're joined together by the symphysis pubis. We've seen that. That's that partly movable cartilaginous joint that as you walk, there's a little bit of shock absorption here. Also, this will stretch a little bit during childbirth. We talked about how that hormone is produced that lets you be a little more flexible. And then it's also connected by what's called the sacroiliac joint on each side of the sacrum here. This is where if your hips go out of place, it's generally not your hip actually that goes out of place. It's very often this sacroiliac joint that will slip and has to be kind of put back in place. So if this does move, one of your legs will be a little bit longer than the other. That's the easiest way for the chiropractor to be able to tell that. And he or she will have to go in there and do some adjusting in your lower back there to fix that. Now, each of these coxabones then have different regions. And so here are the three different regions that exist. Excuse me, this is the bone. So our two coxabones, left and right. So if you are adding in things into your big list of bones, then you really just have two bones to list here, left and right coxabones. Sacrum and coccyx we've already talked about. Here are the regions, the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. And that's the part, if you want to color them, that kind of helps you keep, things straight. So we'll start with the pubis. The pubis is kind of this, I guess salmon color perhaps. Very much the pubic area, if you remember that. So this is why this is symphysis pubis, very much in the kind of the front that we have here. Then what you really sit on, if you are sitting, you're actually sitting on your ischium, the ischium, and we'll have some landmarks on the ischium. All of that kind of coalesce. So if you can kind of think of where all those things kind of come together, it's going to be, and so we have all three colors right here in this little part right here we'll talk about in a moment. This is where the joint of your hip is. So your femur would attach here with that ball and socket joint. And then up here, we have what's called the ilium. The ilium kind of reminds me of elephant ears. And so this is you can actually palpate this as kind of your upper hip. So if you're kind of feeling your lower back, and you can kind of feel that if you're wearing a belt, your belt kind of wraps around that actually to kind of hold things up. Okay, so let's talk then about some of the different landmarks that we have here. So if we remember the iliac, or the ilium, so up here we have at the very top is called the iliac crest. So I put this arrow in here, this whole region here, iliac crest, iliac crest. This is very much the top of that. Okay, so I'm going to get a marker here and so I can check these things off to make sure I get them all. Acetabulum. The acetabulum is this little concavity here. So this is very analogous to that glenoid cavity, the glenoid fossa, where the humerus would go into. And so if you have hip replacement, someone has hip replacement, this is probably the part they're going to cut this or remove this cartilage and insert a new socket for that new bone, that new head of the femur to attach to and articulate against. All right, symphysis pubis, we have seen that. This is this little disc of cartilage that we have here. Pubic tubercle. Now pubic because it's going to be part of the pubis, and so that was our region up in here. And the pubic tubercle is right here and right here. It's muscle attachment, ligaments and things that are attached here. You get this idea of these tubercles. We've seen these already with some other bones. We had that lesser and greater tubercle of the humerus. So again, it's just a little region of the bone that juts out. They don't call it a process. They don't determine it to be far enough out. Tubercles are sort of like small processes, and you'll have one on each one of those. So that's a landmark. The ischial spine. So ischium, that's the one we sit on. Okay, and the ischial spine is right back here, and here. Again, there'll be muscle attachment, ligament attachment here to kind of hold your pelvis stable. Sub-Pubic Angle. So this actually refers to this angle right here that leads up to that symphysis pubis. This angle is actually different in women and men. In men, the angle is much more acute. In women, it's more of a obtuse angle, and actually changes the opening the opening for childbirth here. So that's one of the quick ways that doctors or scientists or forensic scientists find a skeleton, that they found skeletal remains of a human. Pretty much, if they see the pelvis, they will know immediately if it was male or female. The pelvis is a dead giveaway for a male or female skeleton. All right, so I think I got through all of the things that are on the, oh, nope, I skipped, so I did the angle. Okay, ischial tuberosity. So the ischial tuberosity, this was our ischium, what we sit on. We can't really see this very well. It's going to be back behind. This is literally what you are sitting on. So when we see the next plate, we'll actually see that ischial tuberosity, at least from the back. So let me move over here to the back then. We'll just start right there with that ischial tuberosity. So the ischial tuberosity, it's part of the ischium. Now, I have went ahead and put in the dotted lines here. So this region here, okay, region here we're going to have is the ischium. Here's ischium. Back here in the front, you have to think we're kind of seeing the front now. This was the pubis, and then up here, this whole region is our ilium. Let me clear that off. Okay, get this back. So this region right here, okay, since we were starting with that ischial tuberosity, again, really what you are sitting on. There's that angle again. Here's that angle. Now what we can't see from the back is that symphysis pubis. The symphysis pubis would be right behind the coccyx that we have here. Here is your sacrum. Here again, is that if we talk about the region, so the whole bone was the coxabone. Here is the ilium. So ilium. The ischium is what we're sitting on, so this region. And actually, the ischium and the ilium actually kind of divide the acetabulum. So the acetabulum was that socket back in here, and if you actually looked at the other one, it kind of dividing line is right in the middle there. So that, again, the ischium is what we sit on, and then the pubis is that front region. Okay. Now we can see back here, and there's my arrow there. What we're seeing there is that ischial spine again. Here's that crest, iliac crest. And I think that pretty much discusses everything on this plate. I know I kind of jumped around a little bit there. Not too bad. The spines, the toughest part is, well, I should say what you want to do is once you have the regions, then the spines or the tuberosities, they kind of lead you where you need to go. So, okay, thanks for watching.